Today on the Big 3 in 30, the Lakers beat the Knicks without LeBron.
Entirely on their defense because the offense was no great shakes throughout.
The Spurs blow out the Rockets.
It's a 145-120 beatdown of their rival Houston Rockets.
And the Celtics beat the Cavs in Cleveland.
They got something from Peyton Pritchard down the stretch. Jaylen Brown was huge.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Lakers didn't have LeBron James Sunday, so Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves stepped up to get them a win over the Knicks. The Kamenetsky brothers go over the W on Locked On Lakers.
We'll start with the way they won this game, and it was based entirely on their defense because the offense was no great shakes throughout.
Well, particularly in the fourth quarter, I thought the offense really stalled, and that was really the moment where the Lakers had no choice other than to rely on their defense, which had been really good throughout this entire game. Like, this was one of the best wins of the season, period, but it may very well be their best defensive win of the season. And in that fourth quarter, especially where the Knicks were starting to make a push, they got it down to 10 or 9.
10, I believe, was this close.
A couple times during the game, and the Lakers kept relying on some combination of stops or activity, disruption, physicality, like across the board. Everybody who played in this game had a role, not just in the win, but specifically the defense of the win. Like, this was the rare Laker game where it felt like nobody was a weak spot at all.
Yeah. And, it's fun. Like, New York, let's be very clear here, is an excellent offensive team. I believe they came into the game third in offensive efficiency. And
averaging 117 heading into this game.
So, this is a good group. They can score. And I am not going to say, like, every game has this where there's like variance in shot making and, Luka hit a couple shots falling out of bounds, like as he sometimes does. And all of that. Like, so there is always going to be some variance in shot making. The Knicks missed some open threes that they might normally make. Okay, fine. That's going to happen. The Lakers missed some open threes they can normally make. What was consistent throughout, and that where you can point to and say that's the defense. So maybe you want to be a skeptic. You don't want to point to New York's shooting percentage. Fine. Point to the turnovers. Point to the turnovers forced. The number of hands that the Lakers got on passes and second efforts, third efforts, block shots, things like that. Those are tangible measurements of effort and execution. And the Lakers, I thought, got straight A's across the board. Like I know people are talking in the chat about Marcus Smart. I know, Andy, you're going to talk about, what Smart was doing. He was 1 for 10 from the field, 1 for 10, and finished the game at a plus 27 to lead both teams by a mile. And look, plus minus, it's not the perfect measurement of stuff. When you're plus 27, you're obviously having a pretty good impact. And when you only make 1 of 10 shots, it tells you how much other stuff you were doing.
Yeah, there was a sequence in the second quarter where Marcus Smart, he missed back-to-back open looks, and he missed some shots that he normally will, or if nothing else, should make. But on the second of those misses, he got back and on defense and drew a charge on Josh Hart. And he drew the fourth foul on OG Anunoby on a charge with a little bit over a minute left in the third quarter. The Lakers in general did a really good job drawing fouls on key members of the Knicks. But just there were so many plays where Marcus Smart was just all over the place, and his energy and relentlessness was felt. There was one point where he ended up in the courtside seats because he was chasing down a loose ball, ended up in a collision with Bill Maher. So, extra points for Marcus Smart on that one. And it was just
Not a fan.
Extra points for Marcus Smart on that one. So it was just, his play in this game, I saw in the chat, I don't remember who, but someone said that they thought Marcus Smart set the tone for the Lakers in this game defensively. And if nothing else, I think Marcus made sure that the tone, whoever you want to credit for setting it, maintained for the entire 48 minutes. Believe it or not, I actually think DeAndre Ayton was one of the guys who helped set the tone in this game defensively. Like, he didn't a ton of minutes. His stats will not jump off the sheet. And if you didn't watch the game, you might think that DeAndre did not have much of an impact, particularly in the first quarter. Ayton was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, he played stretches. His big stretches were in the first and in the third, and he was active. We'll talk about Ayton before the end of the show, or maybe over the course of the week. But he was getting the typical treatment from Shaq, from Barkley at halftime about not having. I think he had 2 points at the half, and it's like I have some thoughts on
Got to
that
demand
about,
the ball, park up, posting.
Yeah, basically, but
like a big man.
But like how we talk about Ayton and what is considered a good game for him probably needs to change. I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into bigger. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. So here's some numbers from your stars. Luka and AR combined for 60 points, 35 for Luka, 25 for Austin. Luka had 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Austin had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, only 1 turnover. But they had 5 steals between the two of them. Austin also blocked a shot. Those guys were really active defensively. And, you talk about them being your weak links, and there's no question that they are.
Though I will say,
relatively speaking, Luka's not as bad as he gets credit.
No, but I beyond the not as bad as the reputation, the last couple weeks, I actually think Luka's defense, forget being better than the reputation or whatever, I actually think it's been pretty good.
It has been, but like there are certain very noticeable ways that, he can still sometimes be probably like does not have the quickest feet. Guys in the open floor can do blow-bys and stuff like that. By the way, it happens to almost all NBA players that they get beat off the dribble that way. But, the effort has been there. And, his anticipation in passing lanes, I think he's gambling a little bit less. The biggest problem with Luka defensively often is he's not there because he's complaining at the other end. And so
this is the hidden upside to the 15th technical.
It is.
Like,
it really
he just has to smile politely or curse at guys in Slovenian, like something like that. Like, which, side note, I don't know why guys like Luka, who are multilingual, don't do this stuff more in a different language.
I wonder. I think that I would imagine referees at a certain point do know that they're being cursed at in another language, but it is probably.
But if you say it with like a smile,
it's easier to ignore if it's like I know how to say X, Y, and Z in Spanish or Italian or Serbian or Slovenian or all of the other languages that you're going to encounter in the NBA. I may, as a referee over time, learn those things, but it's easier. I have plausible deniability if you curse at me in a foreign language.
No, I mean, you just say something in Slovenian and be like, look, I don't know what translation you're going with. This is like regional slang. Like people in my own city growing up barely understand this. Like, come on. Got this. This is just what the kids say when I was like a teenager.
IRL. But like those two guys were part of a very strong defensive effort. And, JJ talked about it after the game. Like a lot of it is second effort, third effort. Are you quick to the ball? Are you, there was a different plays where, 2 or 3 guys are part of, a tipped ball. And then, I think you mentioned that sequence on the baseline where, Smart grabs a Vando, like ends up, keeping a ball alive after and then, Smart grabs it and throws it off another player. I think that was,
but Smart had a couple plays like that.
Yeah, it was just like those, but those are like, I think it was actually Jackson. It was Jackson and Smart who were involved in that one. Like those are plays that just involve 2 or 3 extra bits of effort. And honestly, you wouldn't necessarily even be dinged if nobody would notice if you didn't see that last one or something like that. And the Lakers put in all of that throughout the game.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team could make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
The Spurs faced the Rockets last night and dominated as Victor Wembanyama led the way with 29 points. Locked On Spurs host Casey Vieira recaps the win.
A convincing victory today for your San Antonio Spurs, a 145-120 beatdown of their rival Houston Rockets on an evening that saw just about everything from everyone, just about everything from beyond the three-point arc fall in. And as a result, another victory. The Spurs are 30 games over 500. They've won 15 of their last 16. They do it on a national TV spotlight on the newly branded Sunday Night Basketball out there. I'm not sure how many more ways I can acknowledge that it was collectively, my friend, a very, very good night for the San Antonio Spurs.
Absolutely. Spurs taking care of business. And you just mark that when you move on to the next one. But let's break this game down a little bit, Casey, because there was a lot of fun out there for the fellas tonight.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Now, Houston playing a little bit better, came in tonight battling for that 3 seed. We're in possession of the 3 seed between Denver with a little bit of a regression. Houston playing pretty well. That would be theoretically a second round playoff matchup. This would be tonight.
Right.
It was close in the first quarter, and Dylan Harper was not part of the reason why it was close. Or I guess you could say theoretically was, because he hit 2 threes consecutively that kind of really set the tone. Victor had 8, Harper had 8 in that first quarter as a whole. But despite a strong start, the Rockets end up taking a 1-point lead in the second quarter of play. And then what happened from the second quarter on was pretty much kind of a microcosm how the rest of the evening went. They start the second by hitting their first 7 shots. And what was suddenly that deficit, a back and forth game, immediately starts taking another direction. And the Spurs, on a night that they hit 21 of their 43 pointers, this was just kind of a precursor to how everything went. Ultimately, they go up by 12 at the break. They hit 41% of their threes in that first half. Harper has 17 at halftime. Dylan does. Victor with 15-5 and a couple of blocks. Third quarter, it really feels like those woes coming out of the break are becoming more and more a thing of the past, because an easy 9-0 spurt balloons that all the way up to 20 plus. They go up 27 in the third. Back end of the third quarter, however, it was not ideal because the crowd was all pumped up. You had Vic dunking around, 3 defenders, 3 balls were falling, all that good stuff. But then they kind of got a little sloppy. Lead goes down to 16, 110, 94 after 3. Yes, they had 110 points after 3 quarters of play. Houston got it within 12. But credit to the Spurs. Within that first little minute that Houston got it back within 12, Keldon hit some big threes. Victor, a big bucket. Fox had 7 points between that 11:06 mark when Houston got as close as they did to when he was ultimately pulled with 4 minutes left, even less time than that. He had 7 points there. And as a result, Rockets pull the plug, down 20 with 4 minutes left. And it was actually entertaining because Spurs emptied the bench, and then everyone was firing away and just drilling threes. Lindy Waters, Olynyk, Carter Bryant too. And, the fun part of it. But, well, I guess all of it was fun, but you know what I'm getting at. Victor goes for 29, 8, and 4 blocks in 30 minutes. Steph Castle with 23 and 5 assists. Fox solid, 20 and 10. Dylan Harper, 19 and 6 assists off the bench. Mentioned that 21 of 40 from the field, 58% from the field. 21 of 40 from 3, 58% from the field. it's just more of the same, right? It's just more of the same, continuing to just show the growth and just, why there's more reason to believe that this team's got a shot. They have a real shot.
Yeah, so where it's all starting is defensively. Obviously, when you have Victor back there, but the things that I'm starting to see, which is a lot of growth in San Antonio, is the fact that the guards, everybody else, they know that they have Victor back there that can block shots, chain shots, things like that. But guys are actually now starting to actually guard their man. All right, they're taking pride in guarding the man. So yes, if you happen to get beat, yes, Victor's there back there to protect you, but when you see some of these guys diving, out of bounds into the first row, given the effort, that they're getting defensively, all right, that's what's going to lead to the other end. Now, what we've struggled with, here up until I say about the All-Star break, was the outside shooting. Well, now you're seeing what it is when you bring, what you bring defensively. Now, put on top of that what happens with your three-point shooting. Casey, you had Harper three threes or four?
Harper had 3. Well, let me double check on that one more time.
Keldon had 4.
Yeah, Harper had 3.
When
3 or 4.
Yeah, when you're getting this, type of production from the outside on offense, all right, I haven't gotten into what Wemby did. I haven't gotten into what Fox did. Yes, you're looking at a very special basketball team. So when I look at a game like this, and that's why I said what I said, hey, you check it off. It was Houston. That's 3. We got 3 more of this homestand. Love to get all 6 of them, but just a very business type approach that went on tonight, Casey.
You mentioned 3 as well, 3 for 3 on the homestand, but also 3 out of 4 against the Houston Rockets. I don't think the Rockets are going to make up 7 games the rest of the way, because that's currently 7.5 what they trail the Spurs for the 3 spot, or the 2 spot rather, in the West. But you take all the tiebreakers that you can get. It's interesting because this game felt quite the contrary from when they played last time, right? Because really the past 2 times, because their first meeting in Houston, they played awful in that fourth quarter and they blew that double-digit lead. It was real bad. But then last go around in Houston, it was a real physical game, right? And the Spurs just couldn't find their rhythm. And it's ultimately until that defense really just locked down in that fourth quarter, they held Houston to 13 points. Victor actually outscored them, if I'm not mistaken. But point being, though, that was a very physical game that didn't exactly play the part at this. Houston actually wasn't terrible on the offensive end here in this neither. The Spurs weren't missing everything. But that's an aspect of it that I like as well, because it continues to show more ways that the Spurs are finding ways to win games and beat you, right? They're winning the rock fights. They're winning the shootouts. When they're hitting 50% of their threes, we know that's not going to happen every night. That's not a reasonable ask, of course. But that's just another encouraging sign that they're finding ways on so many fronts to get it done.
Yeah, well, if you go back to that game, if you remember that fourth quarter, Jabari Smith hit some big threes to keep Houston alive. Reed Shepherd, same thing. Well, this was different because now you have those role players on the road. All right, and Houston was looking. They got it to 12, and Jabari missed a very important one to cut it inside 10 when Victor was on the bench. Couldn't get it done, but when those guys are playing at home, it's totally different. Believe me, I've been there, done all that. But I think the focus is a lot different now defensively for the Spurs. You don't see a lot of the miscues. You see some at times, but it's not, 3 and 4 or 5 straight possessions of that. So you got to give Mitch a lot of credit for that. But the Spurs are just playing at a all-star, type level right now. And it's all of them. It's not just one. Obviously, we know what Victor does, but he's got so much help right now, Casey. It's ridiculous.
They moved to 24-6 now at home, 47-17. Obviously, 30 games above 500. Still 2.5 back of Oklahoma City for that top spot in the West. Yeah. Wanted to ask you something because the assist turnover ratio 38-8 tonight. Before we got started, you mentioned that since the All-Star break, you have seen a dramatic shift in things and as to why the ball has been moving and it's been so tidy. What is that shift? Why has it been so different?
It's just when you're constantly watching film, and nobody's going to watch as much film as NBA players. So when Mitch is in there going over clips about one more pass, make the better pass, basketball this, basketball that. Well, now it's starting to click in because the ball is really moving. You don't really see it sticking. You don't see Castle with it too much, Fox with it too much, Harper with it too much. They are coming off of the basketball. It's swinging around. It reminds me of the '05 Spurs. You remember them, Casey?
I
Okay.
do.
It reminds me of the '05 Spurs and all the Spurs teams that have been before this one, where when that ball gets moving and everybody plays well. Casey, since the All-Star break, they're really moving the basketball.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team could make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can you pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Jason Tatum and the Celtics beat the Cavs in Cleveland last night, and Locked On Celtics host John Corrales has more on the victory.
They got something from Baylor Shireman, which was an interesting moment there at halftime with Shaq that I'll get to in a second. They got something from Peyton Pritchard down the stretch. Jaylen Brown was huge. I'll get to him in a little bit. The second quarter was a really interesting kind of second quarter. That's where the game kind of flipped. But let's start where everybody wants to start right now, and it's Jason Tatum, who played okay in 27 minutes. So it seems like 27, 28 minutes is the minutes restriction. No one has officially said anything about a minutes restriction until Jason Tatum, after the game, talking to reporters, who said, the toughest thing for me right now is the minutes restriction. I think he probably wants to play 34, 35 minutes, but it's obvious that he needs time to kind of work his way back in. He played a longer stretch than I expected in the first quarter, played almost 9 minutes and looked good for most of those 9 minutes, right? 12 points, 4 of 6 shooting, 1 of 3 from 3, a couple rebounds and an assist. Towards the end of it, he had a miss right before he subbed out that was very clearly short. Like, it was his shot looked a little bit more like he was trying to get it to the rim. It just looked a little bit more, oh my God, I'm tired. I got to make up for it somehow. And that all of this is fine. Like, all of it is fine. So he played the 9 minutes and then he took a long rest and he couldn't quite get his rhythm back. I don't know if that was because he was tired from the 9 minutes, if he was out of rhythm after playing 9 minutes and sitting for a while. He didn't get it back until the very end, where he got a very important layup, got to the rim, which was good. Nice to see him kind of getting downhill. I did have questions about how often he would drive, but it looks like he feels comfortable. And then he hit a three. It was a great play where Pritchard was kind of trapped on the right sideline, right about the hash mark. He fights to keep possession. He gets the ball over to Neemias Queta. Queta takes one dribble, reads the defense, kicks it over to Tatum in the left. Right at the break, Tatum drills the three, and that was basically it. It wasn't. I'm calling it a dagger three, but it wasn't really the dagger, but it kind of was. So then that's when Tatum kind of like got back to himself a little bit. But like I said, he scored 12 points in the first quarter. He ended up with 20. So just 8 the rest of the way, 6 of 16, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. So I'm going to say, obviously needs work. That's part of the rehab process. And look, I think one of my takeaways from these two games is that Tatum is answering, like, a lot of these questions about Tatum have been answered already. It took 2 games to get the answers to what we've been looking for. Obviously, there is more to be done. We know that the kind of integration with this team and getting the timing down on some of these plays. And it is a little bit of a different set of things that he's going to need to do where he sets the picks. He's going to have to set more picks than he's used to. He's going to have to be part of that offense more so than he has in the past in terms of like setting the pin downs and, flipping the screens and doing, a couple more things off the ball. It's just a little bit of an adjustment there. Not a big deal at all, but still an adjustment nonetheless. And the kind of Jaylen Brown piece is going to be something that just needs a little bit of refining as we go through. This game was a little bit more kind of like my turn, your turn thing. I think maybe by design to get Tatum, like, okay, you're getting this the first quarter minutes. That let's get Tatum some of these opportunities early because he's fresh. Let's go. Let's work him in. Let's make this thing happen. And then Jaylen in the third quarter kind of was like, okay, this is my time. Not like in a bad way. It's just I think they by design were letting like that's when Jaylen was going to start doing his thing. And in the third quarter, he was great in the third quarter, right? That's where the Celtics kind of were able to hold off another Cavs charge and build their lead out to its biggest point. And Jaylen was definitely a part of that third and fourth quarter. So I do think they're going to have to figure some of these things out as they go along. But you watch Jaylen on his Twitch stream the other day, and he was talking about like he seemed genuinely excited to be doing a little bit more off-ball stuff. And his catch and shoot game there has been no catch and shoot game this year for him because he's been on the ball so much. So with Tatum back, I think getting some more catch and shoots is going to be a big deal for him. So that I think is something that still needs to be refined. I think refined is the best way to put it. Not figured out, not are they going to be able to do it. It's clear already that they will be able to figure whatever they do need to figure out. It's just a refining process because Tatum is nowhere near cardio-wise where he's going to be when he's fully back 100%. He's further along cardio-wise than I expected because I didn't even expect him to play in this game. It's obvious that the 27 minutes that he's playing and the fact that he played in this game 36 hours after the last game, I think it's obvious that he made a lot more progress in the practices and the ramp up, the pre-return ramp up. I think he just made a lot more progress in that regard. I think back to Shams talking about how Tatum didn't want to come back unless he was, Jason Tatum, right? He didn't want to come back as some percentage, which was impossible. He's not 100%. He was never going to be 100% without playing some games and getting those under his belt. But he is closer to looking like Jason Tatum than I expected him to. I thought this was going to be a much longer, a much more obvious kind of ramp up. Like I thought we were going to see, okay, Tatum is a little bit more demonstrative of needing some time off. The way they handle it, the way they put this plan together, this has been a great return for Tatum. Just in these two games, I think he's shown enough to say like, okay, this is going to be Jason Tatum is back. He gets winded, he gets tired right now, just because that's the one thing that is actually living up to expectations. A human being is not ready to play NBA basketball right away after missing 300 days. That at least that part came true, but Tatum's progress has been, or where Tatum was coming in is much further along than I expected. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day when he goes in to play the piano, and like I was expecting it to be like the first day where he's just dink, dink, dink. Imagine that teacher like a year into the process when he just walks in for his first lesson and he's just banging things out and he clearly needs some work, but you're like, wow, this is your first time. And yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like the teacher who's watching him like, is this is only your second day back? Really? Like this has been Groundhog Day for Tatum for 3 months. And just now the rest of us are getting like the first look at Tatum has played this game against the Cavs 30 times. And we're just getting this. This is our first time remembering it. That's how it feels to me sometimes. So really good progress, really good. I'm very encouraged by everything Tatum is doing. No concerns whatsoever. No concerns with him personally, how he looks, no concerns with his fit with the team, none of that stuff. Any questions, anything like that, I think have already been answered. Like the storylines, whatever people have been trying to drum up, it's all answered. It's all done. It's all over with. And as far as I'm concerned, now it's just getting Tatum up to speed physically, just getting his cardio up and just, like I said, the refining of the plays and just figuring out the timing between him and Jalen and all that stuff. It looked a little bit better against Dallas, probably because Dallas is not as good as the Cavaliers. And it's going to be a little bit of an up and down thing for moving forward. But I have no concerns. And I just feel like anything that I expressed over the 10 months that have been leading up to this, now I'm like, okay, everything answered. Let's just let him get back to it. And I feel like within, a month, right around playoff time, Tatum will just look a lot more like himself, and it'll be just fine.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 College wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.